Most of the KPFA paid staff belong to the CWA, but about 2/3 of programmers are unpaid. How should their rights as workers in this media project be protected?
Well, it's a really interesting question. The short answer is they should be respected, as my colleague here says, by seniority. What do they contribute to the station? How long have they contributed to the station? Are they respected members of the community? Understandably, it's difficult without a contract to define things like seniority and contributions. But at the end of the day, the question really becomes, what are they bringing to the station? And I'm sorry that there's not a better answer than that, that there's not a more transparent and more obvious. I'm certainly opposed, as my colleague Steve said, that political retribution should not be a basis upon which workers are separated from the station, whether they're paid or unpaid. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to what is their seniority, what have they brought to the station, what do they continue to bring to the station, are they willing to make sacrifices and further contributions to the station. I find it difficult to say that we can create a set standard for something that's so fluid and essentially transient as a volunteer staff. But at the end of the day, we need to find a way to make it as fair, as transparent, and as productive for the station qua station as possible. Anyone's?
I mean, KPFA has always allowed unpaid staff to organize. Right now it has an unpaid staff organization, which I think only has a minority, represents only a minority of the unpaid staff. But the unpaid staff has the right to organize and to protect its rights at KPFA. I have not seen that as a major problem, from what I know.
That's fine.
Well, as a former member of the unpaid staff organization, we tried when I was there, we had the labor collective to have grievances, particularly on violence at the station. As a former member of the unpaid staff organization, we tried to have grievances at the station, including the unsafe working situation. There was violence at the station, chairs were being thrown, people were being threatened. This was not a good atmosphere to bring members of the community and workers to come to the station to do programming. And we ran into a roadblock. The roadblock was that management did not want to take up the issue. And they were angry, as a matter of fact, those supporters of management, that we even raised the issue about what was going on at the station. They said, we don't want to hear this. Some people, as a matter of fact, abstained on the vote who were running in the ICR slate when we made a motion against violence at the station. I think the unpaid staff organization has a right to have a contract. They were dissolved. As a matter of fact, supporters of the Save KPFA slate were involved in meetings talking about dissolving the unpaid staff organization. They said it wasn't meeting, it was insignificant, it didn't represent the majority of the staff. That was their arguments for dissolving that unpaid staff organization. It was a long struggle, which we supported, for the unpaid staff organization to be recognized. Everyone needs to be recognized, and we support the unpaid staff as well as the staff to be represented and have a process, a grievance process. One of the big problems at KPFA, despite the demands to have a personnel policy, to have transparency, that the workers don't even know what their grievance procedure is if there's an incident at the station. How can you have a proper functioning of a radio station or any operation for that matter if you have no procedure, no democratic process and procedure to deal with your grievances? It leads to anger, frustration, retaliation, people doing things that they wouldn't otherwise do, and that's something we have to change to revive KPFA and Pacifica. Thank you.
Yeah, that brings to mind the incident with Nadra Foster. I mean, I think she was involved with Elemental Roots. She did that way back. That was a really cool show I used to listen to. And to have her treated like that, you know, have the cops called on her, it's crazy. There was just no kind of diplomacy whatsoever with whoever was in charge or taking a leadership role at the station at that time. In 2007, at the end of 2007, I went down to the station myself to witness a publicly advertised ballot counting during the elections of the late 2007. And Louis Sawyer, he was at the front entrance. He would not let me in. I asked to please speak with the local election supervisor, Janae Jenkins. They would not let me do that. As far as I can tell, that's an obstruction of the elections process. And you know, that's what happens to listeners when they try to get involved and try to go to the station and witness what's going on. You know, any kind of due process for volunteers or for unpaid staff, any structure definitely would have been, you know, would have avoided all those problems. Thank you.
I want to say I agree with everything that Steve Zeltzer said. I just want to make a brief comment. I think we also need to look into the bylaws to see if this issue that has been brought up is mentioned in the bylaws. Right at this moment, I can't remember, but we can work from there.
I think just to ask you follow-up questions to the comment you just made, David. You said, you know, seniority should be one of the you know, qualification to decide, you know, I mean, to protect the rights of the unpaid staff. But you know, this also brings up the question of, you know, what kind of process takes place at KPFA in deciding which program and who gets paid and who doesn't get paid? And do you think the quality of the program and the feedback from the listenership should be taken into the consideration?